Yeah, with the conference tournaments around the corner, let's take a ride on the coaching carousel with CBS Sports senior writer Matt Norlander. And Matt, let's start with Georgetown. The school has given Patrick Ewing a vote of confidence, which many times is a kiss of death. The Hoyas, winless in conference play, have lost 18 straight. So how would you characterize Ewing's job status?
Well, it's safe if he wants it for another year, and I do expect that's going to be the case. I made that point earlier in the week on Eye on College Basketball. Georgetown firing Patrick Ewing is not a situation that athletic director and that athletic department wants to come to terms with there. So if Ewing decides he's going to stay on, he's going to stay on. And I think that's going to happen because he publicly said he doesn't want to leave the job, and now he's got the vote of confidence from his AD. I got to say, though, it feels like you're just delaying the inevitable. And that's both my opinion and, frankly, talking to people around the Big East. There's not a feeling like that Georgetown can get back to where it wants to be under Patrick Ewing with Patrick Ewing. They're on the precipice of something exceedingly rare. There's only been like 2-3 teams ever that have failed to win a game in the Big East regular season, and Georgetown is poised to do that. I fail to see how it's going to be able to get out of its own way there. So my suspicion is in a year we're going to look up and no, Georgetown won't be winless in the Big East then, but is Georgetown going to be in the NCAA tournament in 2023? I have my doubts. It made the tournament last year when there were no fans at Madison Square Garden as an 8 seed in the conference. It was magical. It was great, but I don't know. I think we're going to look up in a year and Georgetown's going to be making a coaching change.
Yeah, and they were one and done in the NCAA tournament, perhaps a PR play, if you will, as his dad, for all intents and purposes, created that program. NC State has gone 11-18 this season, yet Kevin Cates is expected back. They've dropped 8 of 9 overall. Matt, he has the support of the school's AD, though. Should he, based on the results on the court?
Yes, for sure. And I talked with sources about less than 24 hours before Boo Corrigan, the AD, announced publicly that Kevin Keats would return. Remember, NC State was ensnared in the FBI scandal, and Keats had nothing to do with that, so it's been hard for him to recruit. Yes, the fan base is a little agitated. I get all that, but Keats will return. I think that's the right call there. He will enter next season on the hot seat, though. It will objectively, NC State will need to make the NCAA tournament minimally a year from now in order for Keats to stay on. That's my read on the situation, but not surprised he stayed another year. I think that's the right call.
All right, Matt. Arizona State is 8th in the Pac-12, 12-16 overall, another sub-500 team here. So is it fair to say Bobby Hurley should be on the hot seat?
To a certain extent, yes, but his athletic director, Ray Tanner, also came out publicly. It was a great day for coaches on the hot seat and their ADs. We're talking about 3 specifically. We'll get to a couple other guys that situation might not apply to in a second here. But Bobby Hurley will not be fired from Arizona State this year. Now, I had a source tell me 2 weeks ago that was going to be the case, but you kind of want to wait for an AD to publicly say something. Indeed, now that's the case. One thing to keep an eye on. I've been told that if an East Coast job in a power conference were to open, it wouldn't be surprising if behind the scenes Hurley might try and angle for that. Who knows if that'll even come to pass? I'm not saying this would happen. I don't think Kevin Willard's going to be the next coach at Maryland or anything like that, but he has been on the candidate list. If Kevin Willard were to leave Seton Hall and go somewhere else, Seton Hall would be open. I think, Bobby Hurley trying to get a Seton Hall job, I think that would make a lot of sense, but that's the only way he's not coaching at Arizona State next year. It has to be a power conference job closer where he grew up on the East Coast if he's going to leave and leave it all. But I don't think that's happening. I think he'll coach at Arizona State next year.
Yeah, interesting, because that public vote of confidence doesn't always lead to job security. How about veteran coaches who may be on shaky ground? Mississippi State's Ben Howland has his team 8th in the SEC, 17-12 overall. How would you describe his job status?
Well, in talking with sources over the past week and a half or so, there is a growing feeling that Mississippi State and Ben Howland are going to part ways once the season ends. Ben Howland had a team going into the season, had a lot of really talented players in the transfer portal, just has not worked out. Mississippi State does not project as an NCAA tournament team. It's been a bit rudderless since Howland got there. That's one of the toughest jobs in the SEC, and the SEC is going to have plenty of jobs open, at least 3 and potentially as many as 6. And so Howland, at this point, I would be genuinely surprised if he is still coaching at Mississippi State, say 6 or 7 weeks from now. I think that is a parting that might be inevitable.
Yeah, one of those potential jobs is in Athens, where the Dogs are 6-24, 14th in the Southeastern Conference. So what does that mean for Tom Crean?
Tom Crean is going to be fired by Georgia at the end of the season. This is a true inevitability. If you want to talk about the one power conference situation dating back to January where it was viewed as unavoidable, like there was, it wasn't going to last, it's Crean. I mean, it feels as close to 100% as possible without being actually 100% because he hasn't been fired yet. But Crean had an assistant coach recently step away from the program after he had an altercation with a lower level staffer there. Clearly the winning hasn't been happening whatsoever at a program. Frankly, you look at Georgia men's basketball over the past 50 years, it is brutally an underperforming outfit considering how close it is to so much legitimate talent in Atlanta and the greater South. Tom Crean was a decent hire when it was made. It hasn't worked whatsoever. Georgia will be searching for a new coach, no doubt about it. Jonas Hayes is a name connected to there. And I wonder if Matt McMahon at Murray State could legitimately get involved in there. He's been awesome. Murray State has the best record in men's college basketball. Matt McMahon's overdue for a real look. Any of the SEC jobs that open, I think Matt McMahon's going to get a few phone calls, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's had a bigger job by the time we got to mid-April.
He's CBS Sports senior writer Matt Norlander. Matt, we appreciate the insight. You can join Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish for everything college basketball. It's the Eye on College Basketball podcast, coaching news, games, players, draft prospects, March Madness. They cover the biggest topics from around the sport. The Eye on College Basketball podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.